Hello, Zelda fans and theorists. I have a theory for you that came to me in the midst of what I assume most of you had the night of the trailer, a talk about this woman right here. And now I believe most of you probably came to the same original conclusion that I did. This woman is Hylia. However, I'm here today to not only prove that this assumption is not only wrong, but it's also a red herring planted there by the team at Nintendo. First, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Come on, Jet, the identity of this lady is obviously Hylia or Zonai, right? Just look at her! And at first, I would have to agree with you. It seems pretty cut and dry. Some ancient Zelda lookalike is exactly the definition of Hylia, after all. But what if I told you, the further we look into this, the further we look back into the one big detail in Breath of the Wild that didn't add up, the more I've started to believe that this is not the goddess Hylia. Okay, before we go any further, I am almost so confident in this theory that I'm going to put a small spoiler warning on it. The whole thing might not be true, but I would be surprised if some of it wasn't. In fact, if you haven't seen the new trailer at all, just don't watch this video. Don't. You're probably already spoiled. Go away. What are you doing here? Now that we're locked in for the ride, let me just lay it out there for you. This woman here is none other than the Princess Zelda of Hyrule. That's right. The reason she looks so much like Zelda is because she is Zelda. Okay, then what about the other person? They've got to be Hylia. Well, maybe. But I also think that's incorrect. I don't think we've seen Hylia yet, if we will at all, in Tears of the Kingdom. Now, before you go telling me how dumb I am in the comments, let me explain. Because by the end of the video, you might think so too. Actually, in order to do that, I briefly need to cover who Ganondorf really is. We all know him as the reincarnation of Demise's curse that returns again and again to try and take over the world, only to ultimately be stopped by the meddling of Link and Zelda. So that's obviously what's happening here, right? Ganondorf reincarnated and created the original calamity that resurfaced 100 years before Breath of the Wild. And to that I say, that's as wrong as it is right. If I were to tell you that Ganondorf was in this picture, most of you would agree with me. He's right there, in the middle. Others of you would argue the difference between Ganon and Ganondorf. And in this case, you'd be right too. But I said Ganondorf is in this picture, not Ganon, didn't I? That's right. Both Ganon and Ganondorf are in this picture, and Ganondorf himself is right here. That's right. The old theory of this hero who sealed the calamity being Ganondorf that was just cast aside long after Breath of the Wild DLC finished releasing was correct all along. Let me get into some loose proof of this from the new trailer. The discrepancy of the hero having long, red flowing hair has been deeply looked into by many theories. But I think the story has been so obvious and told to us all along, staring us right in the face, and we just haven't listened. Ganondorf has dark, usually green-tinted skin, like this man. He has red flowing hair, just like this man. He has a Triforce piece on his hand, just like Ganondorf. The only thing that I have to tackle is, why is Ganondorf using the Master Sword? Doesn't it repel evil? Can't only the spirit of the hero wield it? Well, that's all correct. And at the time of the original calamity, Ganondorf was that hero. I believe at the time of the first calamity, Ganondorf had been separated from the curse of Demise and his malice, and returned to being a normal, even heroic king of the Gerudo people. However, during the process that he underwent to have it removed, to stop the cycle of conflict, to finally live in harmony, the malice they collected was unleashed and then used to wage the worst war Hyrule had ever seen. Together, Ganondorf and Zelda, with the help of the Divine Beasts and Sheikah tribe, won the war with the calamity. However, it came at a great price. The body of Ganondorf himself. That's right, the hero who they had been trying to save from his curse had to pay the ultimate price in the end. For he is the only one who can truly contain the malice of the calamity that Demise cursed this land with. And so, he was sealed along with the malice beneath Hyrule Castle. Now, this story raises many questions. Why did Zelda and Ganondorf fight together to stop Calamity Ganon? Why did they choose Hyrule Castle to seal beneath and leave themselves vulnerable in the future? Why even try to save Ganondorf at all? And so again I assert, this mysterious woman right here is Zelda. The very same Zelda from that original calamity all those ages ago. Some of you might have started connecting the dots of this theory, so let me finally address the glaring flaw. How can this woman be Zelda when Zelda looks like this? This woman isn't even Hylian. And you'd be right. She isn't Hylian. She's half. That's right. I am asserting that this Zelda is half Hylian, half Gerudo. This Zelda, the rightful heir to the throne, was mothered by a Gerudo the King of Hyrule married for a diplomatic reason. That reason? It was on the 100-year cusp of the next male heir to the Gerudo throne to be born. This Zelda and this Ganondorf are siblings, brother and sister. The diplomatic marriage had been a plan to try and nurture Ganondorf alongside the goddess reincarnate in an attempt to quell the evil within him. This obviously failed, and they needed to take some drastic measures. I believe the people who helped separate the malice from Ganondorf and ultimately use it for evil were the Zonai. A more extremist leader or faction of the Zonai, to be precise. I'll get to that in a minute, but for now, let me point out some evidence of this Zelda being half Gerudo, half Hylian. First, the color of her skin matches that of other Gerudo, like Nolly here, that we can find throughout Breath of the Wild. Second, her nose is significantly bigger than that of the current Zeldas, again another Gerudo trait. However, unlike the Gerudo, she has slimmer eyebrows and softer eyes, both of which are the exact opposite of the typically striking Gerudo features. Third, the jewelry she wears on her forehead is akin to that of Gerudo royalty like Ganondorf wears, something that is attached to the skin and not actually worn like a crown or tiara. Fourth, she is using the goddess power of light and holding the same tier of the kingdom that Zelda is in the trailer. If she was full Gerudo, how would she be in the lineage of the Hylian royal family being able to use Hylia's power, right? And there you have it. This woman is Zelda from the original Calamity, and her brother is the one in the tapestry fighting Calamity Ganon, who is none other than Ganondorf himself, Prince of Hyrule. Open and shut, right? Except I have more. If you remember, I accused the Zonai of being the ones who not only split the malice from Ganondorf, but subsequently also used it to wage war for them across Hyrule. The proof I have for this is very small, however. I think we need to look at the second tapestry/carvings we got for Tears of the Kingdom. In them, we see this figure right here, surrounded by the 6, possibly 7 Tears of the Kingdom. We've seen a lot of the tears already in the trailer, and we can assume there is a tear for each of the kingdoms of Hyrule. Now this figure, as many are already aware, looks exactly like this mysterious Draco-like person in the trailer. And as we now know, the other carvings feature a Zelda-looking character who we now know is Zelda from the original Calamity. Tons of theorists have come to the conclusion that this horned figure on these carvings is the goddess Hylia, sharing her powers with Zelda. While I think there is still room for that to be true, I have another idea. When we see this person in the trailer, they are surrounded by malice and enemies, looking very evil in a possible confrontation with someone. If this person was Hylia, why would they be using or allying with the malice? And to combat the theory that this is a corrupted Hylia being controlled by the malice, allow me to show you this picture. This is the person talking to Zelda about Link being their last hope. Look at the color of the skin on his hand. This person is obviously a Zonai, and judging by the skin color of this draconic person, they are also most certainly a Zonai. So okay, we have established a lot here, but what does it all mean? It means, I think I've cracked the code of what happened ages ago in that first battle with the Malice. Follow me here. The Gerudos and the Kingdom of Hyrule have a diplomatic marriage and give birth to Zelda and Ganondorf, in hopes to end the cycle of war and terror. They're unable to nurture Ganondorf because when he comes of age and awakens to his power much like Zelda does, Demise takes over his mind and continues as he always had, to try and take over the world. Pushed against a wall where they know not what else to do, the leader of the Zonai, this horned person, comes to the king with a proposition. using their Zonai technology that are able to extract the malice inside Ganondorf and return him to the loving son the king had raised him to be, all she needed was a little help from Zelda. And what would Zelda need? The Tears of the Kingdom. So she goes and gathers all the tears she can find, say there's 6 of them. They release the malice from Ganondorf, but something goes wrong, and the malice starts to spread. Calamity Ganon is born, and there's a sudden war. After a long battle, our heroes push back the malice to the chasm underneath Hyrule Castle. There it is revealed to them that they can't contain it without a vessel. Ganondorf offers himself up to be that vessel, and the Zonai use Zelda to seal the malice inside him. However, this was just part of their plan. You see, there was another kingdom, a missing and final tier of the kingdom. The Dark Realm, from which Demise used to rule. That is what the Zonai are really after. But they bide their time for now. Time passes, and this war becomes legend. Zelda is reincarnated, and as we know, Zelda had trouble being able to use her power she should be able to use from the goddess Hylia. That's because Hylia's power is being used to keep the seal on Ganondorf's body from being broken, as well as to keep it from fusing with the body and becoming Demise again. That is until Aster, remember this guy? Comes along and starts to pull at the cracks. The seal starts to weaken and some malice slips through, monsters appear, guardians become corrupted, and when Zelda is finally able to use her powers again, it's because the seal is completely broken. Calamity Ganon has risen, and Hylia's power is now siphoning back where it belongs, into her newest incarnation. Then, at the end of Breath of the Wild, the Calamity is defeated. Demise was finally defeated. But a male Gerudo heir hasn't been born for thousands of years, because Ganondorf's body that has been the seal has been kept alive for so long. And so, when the next chance comes around and Demise is finally able to reincarnate, he returns to claim the body of Ganondorf beneath the ruins of Hyrule Castle. Probably guided there by this Zonai hand, in order for them to finally obtain the final tier of the kingdom, to achieve whatever their true intentions with the world of Hyrule really is. And that, my dear viewers, is it. That's my theory. Thanks for listening. Sorry it was so poorly strung together and edited. This is my first theory, and I really appreciate you sticking around and listening through all of it. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Are there holes in my story? Another thing that I really wanted to add, but I never did, is in the first trailer, under the castle, we can see that there's these like heroic paintings of Ganondorf on his horse with his spear, and we know that his horse is still alive and out there, and you can get it in Breath of the Wild. And why would Ganondorf be painted as a hero underneath the Hyrule Castle if he wasn't at one point aiding their cause? I don't know. It's something I couldn't really find out how to string in there, but just another point I wanted to add. And yeah, again, thank you so much. Should I do more of these? There's tons more I can theorize on. Let me know. Thanks for being here, and I hope you enjoy Tears of the Kingdom when it comes out, if it's not out already when you see this. But yeah, see ya!